So I'm giving this one a try. This is the Myers smoked sausage. My favorite is the fresh thyme, but this looks like it. I didn't want to drive to Fresh Thyme to get that, so I went with this. I usually do them pretty nice sized. You can cook this any way you want. I do mix it with the potatoes and the onions. You can serve it separate. I do fry it in the cast iron prior to starting the potatoes. The potatoes take a little while. This is just one of those weeknight, quick, easy, to an extent, cheap meals when you just don't feel like doing anything. This is one of my go-tos because my group will eat this. And it's not $30 or $40 at Subway or $30, $40 at McDonald's. And yes, I know I'm going on the low end of things on this. So I did end up using what? I'm dying. I don't know why. I am using 1.5 lengths. I like to get these, I like to get a nice brown on them. Grease was popping. Same as when I did the red beans. This is just one extra step I do. I like that caramelization on it. Good grief. This doesn't take more than a couple of minutes. It's just to give you that extra added flavor. So in the meantime, I'm going to let this sit, and I'm going to start cutting potatoes and onions. Like I said, it only takes a few minutes, and it just gives them a little bit of flavor. It seasons the oil that you're going to cook the potatoes in. This comes down to, and comes back to seasoning the layers of your food. And this is what gives you that depth of flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out, and I'm going to start getting the potatoes in. So due to how long it takes, I just went ahead and did the potatoes. My cast iron's still heated up. And yes, I have a large cast iron. I believe it's the 12 or 14, I'm not sure. I've had it for a long time. I have smaller ones. This is just the one I gravitate towards. I'm still learning to cut back on portions, so I still think I need huge pans for the huge meals I need to cook. So just get it all coated in the oil that we cooked the sausage in. I don't put the onion in right away. I wait a little bit, and then I thinly slice the onions so they don't take very long to cook. I'm afraid if I would put them in with the potatoes, they'd cook and the potatoes would still not be done. So at this point, I've gotten, it sticks a little. I don't think there's, I don't know, I'm not an expert on cast iron. You're always going to have, at least for mine, and I feel like mine are seasoned well, I'm still going to have a little bit of stickage with potatoes. There's just no rhyme or reason for it. It's always going to stick for mine. But it's also browning. So at this point, the potatoes are getting softer. I've added my onion. Like I said, they're nice and thin. And now they'll go into the little bits. And no, before you think I haven't forgotten the season, I just haven't yet. Right now, I'm just letting the onions and the smoked sausage from the grease flavor everything. I usually only season this with some garlic powder, salt, and pepper. And I'll probably do it in just a little bit longer. I have it just about there. I like all the brown bits. To me, it just adds more flavor. So I'm gonna lightly salt. And I mean lightly, because that has salt in it, and pepper. So basically, because I used 1.5 packages of sausage, that put me at $4.50. The potatoes were $2, so I'm at $6.50. Add 50 cents for an onion, $7. I'm gonna have a piece of sourdough with it because I buy sourdough. You could just have a regular piece of toast. You could have a side of vegetables. This will feed your family for under $10. And the best part is it's delicious. See, that's what I want. I want that brown. I want the brown. That's what I like. And then all I do is I take the sausage and I put it back in. As I said, you don't have to have this much. The other thing I like to do is if I'd had a pepper and felt like doing it, we could have added a pepper to this. Sometimes I'll make this and I'll make a side of fried cabbage with it. Like I said, it sticks a little, but not very much. And that's dinner. So tonight I'm gonna make either egg roll in a bowl or, as others call, crack slaw. And what you need for it is a pound of pork. I've also made it with chicken. I've made it with sausage. You can make it with any meat, or you can make it meatless. 2 bags of coleslaw. You can cut your own cabbage. You can do it whatever way you want. This is just what we do. You can put some other vegetables in it. I am making egg rolls just in the air fryer, just so we have a side. I have hoisin sauce. You don't need it. All you technically need is garlic, ginger, and soy. I still have some coconut aminos, so we're going to use those. And I'm also going to add a little bit of rice wine. I don't have fresh garlic and I don't have fresh ginger, but it's fine. We've had it this way before. So I have my pan heated. I also tossed the egg rolls into the air fryer. This is one of those really quick, easy meals that you can make and have dinner on the table in 30 minutes. And it's really, really cheap depending on how cheap you can get your egg rolls for. I know when we do Chinese, for one, they do General Tso, and I usually do something chicken with lots of veggies. It will run us $45 for the 3 of us. And that's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. And this is under 10. You don't even have to cook. This is over a pound of pork. This wasn't supposed to be a budget meal video. It's turning into, though. So once you've got it cooked, if there's any grease in here, you can remove it. This pork's very lean, so there really wasn't any. My husband made a side note. He decided he wanted rice with it. So I went ahead and started 1 cup rice, 1 cup water, Instapot, 4 minutes high pressure, 10 minutes sit. Best rice. And it's still under $10, or close to it, depending on how much you spend on your egg rolls. So that's 1 bag. Now keep in mind, it might look like a lot. That cabbage is going to cook down enough. So we always do 2 bags. What do you do while you're making dinner? I'm at a point where I don't have to deal with kids anymore, minus the 24-year-old. So I do dishes. I set out meat or whatever's on the menu plan for the next night. I make sure my coffee is ready for the next day for morning if I'm working. Yeah, that's kind of what I do now. I have learned the older I get, when I get done eating, I want minimal dishes to have to clean up. Because once I sit down in the evening, I'm done. I feel like I run around like my head's cut off all day on time limits with dogs. So once I get home, I try to do everything as fast as possible so that I can sit down. So as you can see, it's cooked down quite a bit. This is at the point I usually start the seasoning and the sauce. I eyeball it, but this is ground ginger, garlic. Now you can use fresh, I just didn't have it. I needed to finish off the hoisin sauce, so this was a perfect idea. I'm not going to use all of it. Well, I might, I don't know. This gives it a sweetness. I have coconut aminos. You can use soy. I'm just using this because I'm trying to get stuff out of my cabinet. Now, the rice wine vinegar, if you've watched my other videos, you know I like vinegar. But even in this, I'm going light. The other thing that is really good in this, and I am out, is sesame oil. And all you do with the sesame oil is the minutest amount, like a whole teaspoon for this whole amount would be good. Otherwise, it'll make it very salty, very, very quick. That's pretty much it. I'm going to let it cook a little bit more, but as you see, this really cooks down. And it smells so good. Now, that is one I'm going to pull out. Ooh. That looks like it's the pork. So we're going to get rid of that. I don't want to bite into that. But that's it. Nice, simple, and easy dinner on the table in about less than a half an hour. So for dinner tonight, we're gonna do biscuits and gravy. I do make my own biscuits. You don't have to. There is nothing wrong with the cans of biscuits at the grocery store. This is 2 cups of self-rising flour. For the butter, it's 6 tablespoons. And make sure it's nice and cold. You can even put this in the freezer. You can grate this to make it easier. I typically cut it. If you don't have self-rising flour, you just need to add your baking soda and salt, or baking powder and salt. And I just cut it. I'm probably having people having a heart attack with me. This is just what I remember my grandmother doing. My mom was not a fan of biscuits and gravy, but my grandparents loved this. So this is what I remember getting over there on occasion. My mother, for holidays, this is funny, would make chip beef on toast, because that's what my father and I would beg for. She even, when I called her today and said I was making this for dinner, she says, well, what about chip beef? And I'm like, well, for one, that dried beef stuff is god-awful. It's so expensive. And I like it. I always call him the baby. Ethan likes it. But my husband and my other son could care less. Well, Ethan isn't here, so it's just the 3 of us. So I'm just doing sausage. Okay, finally got it open. Not pretty. Make a well, add the buttermilk. Now the thing with this is, it depends on where you live. How dry is your flour? Can be a lot of different factors on this. So I start with a cup. And I mix, and my flour's very dry today. So we're gonna go in, like I said, I'm a cook that eyeballs it. I'll leave the recipe below for all of these that I'm posting today. You want to be able to mix them and be able to shape them. So you don't want it to be mush. But you still want to be able, you want them to have some moisture. Here we go. still have some flour on the bottom of the bowl that doesn't want to get mixed in. Okay. So, when I was a kid, my grandmother used to flour the counter and knead them, and that's what builds the layers. Taking just a little bit of flour and putting it over here at the side. You'll see why. My uncle actually showed me how to make these. He also makes cat heads that are really good. You just take it, drop it in the flour. Might still be a little too much. There we go. It's very, very soft. And then you just shape the biscuit. I've seen Fallon at Moss Family do the same thing. And put it on your sheet. So here's what they look like when they're done. They're soft. It is a soft dough. If they don't turn out and you always think they're too dry, it's because you didn't put enough buttermilk in them. The other thing I said was earlier when I said to make your own buttermilk, I said 2 tablespoons of vinegar. It's 1 tablespoon per 1 cup. I've always made 2 cups. I've always doubled this recipe when it's all the boys at home. So I immediately said 2 tablespoons. My bad. These are going to go in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes, depending on how hot your oven is, at 350 for about 8 to 10 minutes. So I've got my pan heating, about to put the biscuits in. I don't know if that's the way everybody does it. That's kind of how I get this stuff out of the tube. I don't like to use cast iron for biscuits and gravy. Oh, my cat's making a mess. I don't like to use my cast iron to make biscuits and gravy due to the fact I don't like to clean up the mess it makes. Now I do sometimes make the biscuits in a cast iron. I just didn't feel like getting it out tonight. And I like parchment paper. Just gonna break this up and get it to start cooking. Once you get your sausage cooked down, this is the trick I learned. Sausage, for some reason nowadays, didn't used to be the case. There's not enough oil in it. So that's the other 2 tablespoons of butter. You let that melt. Now you can either take your sausage out and make your gravy, or you can just leave it in. If you take it out, you will get a whiter cream gravy, and then you add your sausage back into it. If you leave it in and make it this way, it just won't be as white. I guess I just don't care. So, I've done it both ways. I start with usually 2.5 heaping tablespoons. Make the roux. I put the biscuits in the oven. If you're questioning how to time this, I look at it this way. If this isn't ready, then it's fine. Add 1 and a little bit more. So this was almost 3. I'm not trying to make it so it's real paste. I just wanted to get a little bit more of it cooked down. And then you want to cook your flour so it doesn't taste like flour for a minute or so. Check my biscuits. Nope. They're gonna take longer than 8, but I start at 8 and then I add. Now, if you'd wanted on the biscuits to put them on the counter with flour and stuff and make the layers, add more flour, because you've got to have it so it'll stand up to it. Okay, now that you've got it to this stage, start adding your milk. Start cooking down. Okay, it's starting to get gummy over here. And just start mixing. It ends up being about 2.5 to 3 cups. This is going to feed the 3 of us. Now, when I would cook this for 4 of us, I would still only use a pound of gravy. Or a pound of sausage. But I'd make more gravy. That's how I would make this stretch. Good and mixed. Add the rest of your milk. Now you're just going to bring this up to temp and continue to stir, and it will reduce and it will thicken. If it gets too thick, add more milk. This is just a couple minutes later. And that's about the consistency we like it. So I'm going to turn this off. And I got to find out how many eggs I'm going to fry, because the way we serve it is 2 biscuits. Sometimes you put the eggs on top and then you pour the gravy. Other times you pour the gravy, then you put the eggs on top. And yes, we eat this quite often for dinner, because it is a simple, easy. I didn't even probably spend $10. I'll have to add it up, but I don't even think this is a $10 meal. That's the 3rd one this week, and I didn't even plan that. Okay, I've got my pan going, and I am cracking 2 eggs. Butter's already hot in the pan. Add the eggs. And just fry them to whatever temperature you like. So once the biscuits are out, I just open out one of them. They're very tender, they break apart. Put the gravy. As I said, you can do it either way. And take There goes my fried eggs, and pour them over the top. That simple, that easy.